What's poppin', my Freeform Renegades? You are tuned into the Freeform Network. Thank you for joining us for another fun episode of Freeform Radio. I am your host, Noel. My co-host for today, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Trying to stay warm here, drinking a tea, man.
And Andy.
It's all good. We're back in Adam, and I apologize for my strong heater because I think Danny's jealous of it. The louder it is, the stronger it is, Danny.
Yeah, I know. I hear it, man.
Hey, at least you're keeping warm, man. It's another cold day here in Chicago, but wherever you listeners are, we hope you're sitting cool and feeling good. And let's get the show started here. So Daniel, this week looks like you have some stuff going on, a little bit of gaming. Could you fill us in on what you played?
Yeah, man. I finally beat this weekend, I'm sure to my wife's delight, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. This game came out like in 2013, and it was one of those PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 crossover titles, like where it released in the middle of the generation, like at the very tail end of PlayStation 3 and the start of PlayStation 4. So I had never played it before, and I was kind of in the middle of something. I didn't really want, I don't know, I didn't really have a feel for like something like, yeah, I really want to play this thing. So I was just looking through my catalog of stuff that I have that, you know, either PlayStation is giving me for free, and I just never really played it, but I added to my library. And this popped up, so I was just like, you know what? Let me give it a shot, because I had heard that it was one of the last Assassin's Creed good ones before they switched over to the open world GTA style, which a lot of people like that too, but I've tried that on a demo, and I didn't really care for it too much. I'm sure maybe if I dig into it a little bit more, it would stick. But this was one of the last few titles that had that Assassin's Creed old school. You get a mission, you go on the mission, then you go back and get another one, and so on and so forth.
But real quick, Dan, you've always liked the Assassin's Creed franchise, haven't you? I mean, I'm kind of shocked that you're like, I don't know if I should play it or not.
Well, I guess I didn't play it not because I didn't care for it, but just because there was always something else going on. But yeah, I've kind of dug Assassin's Creed, the franchise. I played like the first two, maybe three, and then I kind of took a break because they started kind of annualizing these things coming out every year, and it got a little too much. So yeah, I had skipped out on a big batch in the middle. And then the one that just recently came out, Valhalla, I think it's his name. I haven't played that at all. And the one that came out before that, it's eluding me now. I know it's after Origins.
Wasn't there like a Revolutionary War one or something?
Yeah, that's the one before Black Flag. The Assassin's Creed 3 was the one that was like East Coast of the U.S. kind of stuff. But yeah, this one is kind of around the Cuba, Southern Peninsula of Florida, Jamaica, stuff like that. There's
like a Cold War feel to it.
You're like in the Caribbean, so you're all in that Caribbean atmosphere. There's a lot of boat mechanics where you're like, or not. They make fun of it where like people call this a boat, but it's not a boat; it's a ship. So it's got a lot of like ship mechanics where you're half the game. You're on the ship battling other ships and upgrading that. So I guess at the end, I did walk away pretty satisfied. It was pretty fun. I kind of like those collectathons every now and then where you just get a bunch of blimps on the map and you have to go and cover them and find everything that's associated with it. So at the end, I was left pretty satisfied. I was pretty happy with the game. It did get a little long in the tooth towards the end to where I was just like, damn, when's this ending going to come already? I was kind of ready to go on to the next thing and just get rid of this game already. But it just kept going and going. And even my wife got tired of me complaining. It's just like, well, just start playing something else. And I'm just like, well, I'm pot committed. I'm here. I could feel the ending coming any second. I'm like, I know it's coming, so I don't want to give up now and give up that trophy that I know I'm going to get when I beat the game. So I just stayed with it and finally beat it this weekend.
Was the jackpot worth it then, the ending, or you're just like, fuck this? I wasted all my life on 8 hours of my life on this shit.
You know, I gotta admit, sometimes endings are a little predictable, and you kind of see them coming. This one I did not see it coming. The quick synopsis is that this guy is married, young couple. The guy is kind of like a drunk loser kind of guy. He doesn't really have a job, and the wife just keeps like nagging him, like, you know, like, hey, you got to make better. My family doesn't like you because you're just always, you know, doing nothing. So he finally joins like a pirate ship, takes off, he's in search for fame and glory and whatever to bring it back supposedly for his family. The whole game goes the whole game goes over an arc of like three, like I think it's like 3 or 5 years. So it goes over through a long period of time. And at the end, when the ending comes, you know, spoilers for anybody that wants still the ending, you find out that the wife actually died in this time frame that passed. The wife died, but in him leaving, she had gotten pregnant, assumably by him, or at least there's
bullshit, bro.
right.
When he started to say he left her get cigarettes, like he's gonna come back and like she knocked up with some dude and like, oh, I thought you died, motherfucker.
Right, but yeah, she's pregnant. They have a daughter, so like the last mission before the finale, he gets a letter and he reads it and he has like the shock look on his face, but they don't really reveal what it is until the very ending. A ship comes into like the bay that they have like their headquarters, and then a little girl comes out and you find out that that's his daughter. So that was the ending. To me, I didn't really see that coming. I kind of figured, I'm like, okay, here comes I'm going to sail back to England and reconnect with my wife and then bring her, you know, this glory that I got from all these missions and whatnot. But no, it didn't end up like that. The wife died. So
spices and tobacco.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. There's a lot of you know, like hunting for wool, wood, metals. So there's a lot of like crafting that you got to upgrade. There's hunting. You got to go hunt, like, you know, not bears, but like cougars and whatnot. And then you got to skin them, and then you use them to make your pouches bigger. So it's got a lot of RPG elements, and usually Assassin's Creeds are like that. This one was cool. I wasn't really used to the ship mechanics at first, or I wasn't exposed to it before in any other game. So that was something different, but I got used to it pretty quick and got pretty good towards the end. And overall, I would say it's a good Assassin's Creed. It definitely looks dated. To me, it looks like something. Really? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a PlayStation 3 game.
Yeah,
so
it's the end of its, cycle. You would figure.
Right. I mean,
or like at its peak.
Right. 2013. So that was a long time ago, man. Now it was one of those cross gens that got like a little visual bump from going to PlayStation 4, but nothing. You're not going to confuse it for a God of War, you know, that came out 2-3 years ago. So it is definitely kind of dated, but yeah, good game overall. I enjoyed it, and the thing that I found most refreshing was that the new game that I had played came back to me. The name, it's called Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That's the one I had played last before this Black Flag, and the thing that I didn't care for it too much. It was really pretty, nice graphics. It's more modern. But it's like open world, kind of like GTA. And then the other thing that I didn't really care for is that the enemies scale with you. So if you're level 1, you're mainly fighting level 1 characters. And when you get to like level 50, you're fighting level 50 characters. Now, to me, that makes it where it's always a challenge kind of thing where you're not overpowering these characters. But to me, I kind of enjoy that. I enjoy the building my character. My character at first is kind of weak, so it's difficult and challenging to fight other characters. But as you progress through the game, you slowly, little by little, start feeling like a god because you start getting overpowered with all these tools, all these weapons. Your health gets bigger, your power gets bigger. And with Odyssey, I didn't feel that because every time, no matter how much I grind and updated my character, I would go fight, and it was always the same challenge. I never felt that overpowered feeling with Odyssey. So it was refreshing with Black Flag to get that feeling back through an Assassin's Creed.
There was a DLC for it, right?
Yeah, there was one with your quartermaster person that's with you on the ship. It's a black gentleman. He used to be a slave. So he's your quartermaster that helps you run the ship. And the DLC is actually pretty big. I forget the name of it, but he goes and becomes a big part of the story, and then you kind of go through his story after that. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was a pretty cool game. I didn't play the DLC. I did see that it was available, but um, I think I had my fill for Assassin's Creed. I just wanted to get that end game trophy, and I think I'm going to go on to something a little more lighthearted, but I'm not really sure. I haven't really picked what to play next. Kind of in between things right now. But yeah, let's jump off to Noel, man. I see here the Expanse season 5. You finished it. This is one of those shows that I've been trying to get in, and I've seen episode 1 of season 1 like 3 times, and it just doesn't grab me, even though so many people really enjoy it. Tell me what your thoughts were, man.
So it definitely is a slow burn for season 1. This came out like many years ago. It's season 5, so 5 years ago. Season 6 is on the way, and it's going to be these kind of a series finale. So it initially started on SYFY, and this company, let me see, what's Elcon Entertainment. They produce and finance the series, and they sold 3 seasons to SYFY, but then SYFY, because they don't like good shows on their channel, they canceled it in May of 2018.
They do have
Yeah,
a bad track.
Yeah, you mentioned this before, right? With that
Yes.
network.
Yeah, I was really upset because I was a big fan of Sci-Fi growing up, the channel, and I didn't like when they changed their logo to SYFY, and I'm like, whatever. And then they started canceling good shows, and I'm just like, what the hell are you doing?
Well, real quick, no, I mean sci-fi. It's a piece of Universal Comcast, and
Yeah,
even before they really got into it, they've always been cheap. They were known more for their cheap B movies, and once a show started getting going, they usually canceled because if it gets popular, it costs them more money to make it, and that's why their seasons are always like 1 to 3 seasons is like then you see them end or people leave and they swap out the cast because you get to pay them cheaper. I mean, they just have a bad fucking track record of that.
yeah, no, you're right, man. But there are some shows that I've liked on that channel, and they've kept it going. There was some shows that you're right, like it's like cheaper, so they keep it longer running. And I guess they knew that this show is gonna be big, and they're like, yeah, let's let it go. But thankfully, Amazon, Jeff Bezos and Amazon picked it up for a fourth and fifth season. The sixth season hasn't come out yet. It's going to be out probably later this year, if not early next year. But even after the series finale on Amazon for season 6, the company Alcon Entertainment, who owns the franchise, they say that it's more like a pause because they still want to continue with the IP because it's based off a book series. It's based off a sci-fi novel series. There's 8 books, a ninth one coming out this year,
The
and then
same
there's like
name for the book.
I believe so.
Okay.
I haven't read the books myself, so I couldn't confirm that. But it has some recognizable names. Thomas Jane. There's an Iranian actress. She's pretty popular in American movies. I'm not gonna butcher her name. Shore Agdashlu, I think is the right way to say it. Anyway, just like a long story short, um, I don't want to spoil anything, but I want to give you kind of like the bread and butter of it. It's set in space initially for the first season, but it involves politics and drama involving Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. And humanity, this is like 100 years in the future. Humanity's evolved to the point where we can colonize other planets, and Mars has become a really big colony, like a thriving planet. In terms of having like people and people working and trying to do stuff. they're trying to terraform Mars, but it's been a struggle. And the asteroid belt is where they mine for, minerals and stuff like that. So you could say that the kind of people you would see in coal mines and on Earth, like people that work in those kind of jobs, like the blue collar workers, maybe the unfortunate, lower class people, that's
Right.
what they send out there. They end up being out there for so long and so far away from humans or like Earth and Mars that they develop like their own culture, their own language. And Mars also develops their own culture and their own way of living. So Earth can't really dictate what goes on there. So it becomes kind of like Earth is a big country, Mars is a big country, and the asteroid belt is like a developing small country that's like oppressed. And so there's rebels and there's people that hate Earth and hate Mars, and there's Martians want to start war with Earth, and then all that shit's going on, but you have this one spaceship that has a crew of an Earthling, a Martian, and a Belter, and they're all you working together to solve an alien threat. And I don't want to give too much details. It's really worth watching. It's I know the first episode is probably not going to draw you in right away. You definitely need to put in like 4 or 5 episodes before you really start getting hooked in. But once I did, I was along for the ride. And when they canceled it in season 3, I was super upset, dude. I was incredibly upset that they canceled it. And then when Amazon brought it back, it was like resurrection. It was interesting to see the Amazon like saw promise in it, and I can legit say it's my favorite sci-fi show of all time,
Wow.
and that's hard to say because I when I grew up watching Star Trek with you guys, like it was one of the coolest the next generation, that is, it was one of the coolest shows for
Holy
me.
shit.
Growing up in the '90s, I got to see new episodes fresh, and it was a surreal experience. So watching this, I was like comparing it, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely like what Star Trek should have been. It was more edgy, it was darker, grittier. It seemed like what space would be, not this like, oh, let me have some tea and coffee and just fucking cross my legs and
Yeah.
talk about
The
alien diplomacy.
Federation made the whole galaxy a better place, and we only have issues with like two races and shit. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's my issue with Next Generation. Is just like it's weird. I mean, that ain't no Kirk. Kirk had more action, but whatever. But yeah, The Expanse. I've heard a lot of good things on social media. I know you talked about it. Even my wife's asked about it because someone recommended it to her, one of her teacher friends, and it's like I'm on the fence about it. I don't know why, but maybe I might check. I'm gonna maybe check it out, but right now it's like on my maybe list.
Take a leap of faith, man. It's only got 56 episodes, which seems like a lot, but it's the first few seasons had like 12 or 13, and season 4 and 5 on Amazon I think had at 10. So
When Amazon got involved, did you see like better production or a better like
yeah.
did the show grow? Sometimes when you can see shows are made on the cheap, and then when somebody else gets involved, it could go either way cheaper or more money.
Right.
No,
Uh,
definitely the budget stayed consistent. The visual effects have gotten awards. It
yeah,
even impressed astrophysicists because the way they mimic what happens in space, like how you would die, how you would be exposed to radiation, like all the subtle things that would happen in space, they present that. So it makes it in a way that it's realistic to even a scientist, and they can watch it and like, holy shit, like this is you get drawn into it because the characters actually develop, and like you feel connection with each character. Um, so when they do have struggles, and maybe if somebody dies, it actually has like a meaning and an impact. And yeah, so just to kind of wrap it up, I recommend you guys watch it. I really feel like a lot of people are gonna find this later on in life. Like they're gonna find it like, oh damn, this show ended like 10 years ago. It was so great. What happened? It's because nobody's fucking watching it. Like people need to stop and just watch it, enjoy it. Give them your support, and hopefully it continues. Hopefully it gets picked up for another couple seasons because the books are still going. So there's always more stories to tell in this thing.
Right.
One last thing I wanted to say before we pass it along here. I was starting to get into like trying to optimize my supplements and vitamins, and this is a good learning lesson for our viewers. Well, I did the learning, but I'm going to give them the lesson. So I took vitamin A, which is in really high amounts with when you take fish oil. I took these capsules that cod liver oil, and I got it for vitamin D initially because in the winter you're not going outside, it's cold, you feel like not depressed, but it's a seasonal thing where you feel just lethargic, less energy, less motivation, and I knew it was hitting me. I could feel it, and I was like, "Damn, I don't like this." Like I feel like not doing anything, and that's every day, and that's not good. So I'm like, let me take some vitamin D because I still work out, I still do everything else. It's just this, right? So I took some vitamin D on the fish oil, and I also took this other supplement that has a complex list of vitamins and minerals, and it's called Kylea. And so vitamin A on both of those things are kind of in high amounts. And I wasn't paying attention. I'm just like a little fool, just like, oh, this is gonna help me, blah blah blah, day after day. And then I started feeling weird, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like, why am I feeling like dizzy, nauseous? Why do I started having mouth ulcers. I don't know if you ever had a canker sore, and it doesn't happen unless you have like trauma or some kind of deficiency or like a toxicity. And so it turns out that yeah, it was vitamin A. Because it's fat soluble, it binds to your fat. It doesn't eliminate from the body as quickly as like vitamin C or some of these other vitamins, some of the B vitamins that you could just pee out. So this stays in your body, retains in there, and it can build a toxic level. So to anybody watching who's taking supplements and taking like fish oil, be aware that vitamin A can build up, and so you want to moderate or like monitor how much you're taking and do so moderately. Unless you're very very active or you're burning fat constantly, you got to be very careful of that.
Yeah, it's weird because I do take fish oil, but I also take a couple multivitamins. So I wonder if you combine the vitamin A from all of those supplements, how much would it measure to?
Yeah, see that you just have to take a look. You really don't need very much. They recommend 900 micrograms, but a lot of people said it's kind of overkill. Because it actually stores in your fat. Your body's gonna use it as it needs it. You don't need to have a daily amount, like every single day you need this amount. And if you don't have it, you're gonna be sick. They say it doesn't work like that. Like you can have little small amounts. You could generally get it from your diet. If you eat fish, you eat eggs and things like that, like poultry, cheese, it has vitamin A in it, so you'll probably get more than enough from that. If you need it, yeah, you could take a supplement, but just be careful that when you start getting to like 3,000, 5,000 international units, you're gonna, if you do it every day, you're gonna run the risk of getting an excess. And it was not fun, man. I had a week of like pain and dizziness and just felt no good. But I knew I was gonna be fine. I just needed to stop taking it for a little bit. So I'll probably start taking it like maybe once a week, just one time a week, versus I was doing it every day for the past 2 weeks. Yeah, but yeah, just for our viewers, if you guys get into supplements, just be careful, everybody. And so Andy, now let's get it over to you, man. Well, looks like you're talking about somebody getting back at somebody by sleeping with their partner, or what? What's going on here?
So I was I was listening to, I don't know if you guys remember Bobby Lee. He's a comedian. It was like on Mad TV in some movies. He has a
He's
podcast.
hilarious, dude. He's a
Yeah, he
dirty ass
came up.
guy though.
Yeah, dude, he came up in my feed and he started talking about he had an issue with another comedian, Ari Shaffir. Because what happened? I mean, just to make it short, Ari Shaffir's girlfriend at the time started cheating on him with one of Bobby Lee's co-workers, and Ari kind of blamed it on Bobby Lee, and like he literally like he beat the shit out of him like 3 times.
Wait, who beat
And
the shit out of who?
Ari Shaffir beat the shit out of Bobby Lee,
Whoa.
and this was a long time ago at the Comedy Store in California, and they
Is
were
that
break.
Ari guy? Is that the guy with that's on that radio show with shit, his name I just
Joe
lost
Rogan?
it. No, the New York guy, the Howard Stern.
No, you're thinking of Artie Lang.
Oh, Artie Lang. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's
No,
different guy.
Ari is a comedian. They've always had. I mean, they were real close, but so they talked about it. Bobby Lee had his ex-girlfriend on the podcast recently, I think in the last year or two, and then him and Ari kind of made up, and he came on the podcast. So I was just like, oh man, like this is interesting, and I started listening to. He would talk to it with other comedians and shit. So finally, I listened to the highlights of the one with the Ari's ex-girlfriend, and she was like, yeah, we were kind of at the end, and like she's like, what, he beat the shit out of you? Like, yeah, bitch, he fucked me up 3 times, like he kicked me in the face and all this. And so they went at it, and they broke up, and then Ari's like, dude, you need to, the guy that was cheating on her was a coworker of Bobby's, and he was like, you need to break into his computer and find out like the emails. This is on emails and shit, right? And he was trying to figure it out, and then he started blaming Bobby when they finally broke up. So one day he just they were at work, he was gonna do it like a comedy set, and he fucking just started beating. He threw him down to the ground and kicked him in the face like fucking 20 times. And he went and still did his set, and it was like a big thing. And then like the next week he was like, you motherfucker, and like he went and like choked him. And it was like fucking crazy, man. And he and oh shit, yeah, so it was crazy, man.
So did he get arrested at all, or like was there any charges filed ever in any of these assaults?
No, so they were like trying to tell him to call the cops and all this shit, and the owner told him not to. So he beat him up twice, 3 times. The first time he beat the shit out of him, his face started swelling up. The second time he choked him at the Comedy Store, and he started bleeding and shit. And then the third time, by this time he was trying to avoid him, and he fucking went and like he was going to his car, Bobby Lee and Ari. He just said he heard running, and he like Superman punched him in the back of the head, and he was just like, what the fuck? And then they banned him from the store, the Comedy Store, and I was just like, dang, he fucked them up and never called the cops or anything. And then they stopped talking, and they would run into each other, and Ari would make like comments like, you're stupid, fuck you, in front of people, and Bobby Lee was just like what do I do here, you know? And so long story short, he got him, they kind of made up, and then he had him on the podcast, and he was telling him like, well, I thought this, I told you to do this, you didn't do it. I kind of thought you introduced them to your coworker and my ex, and that's why I was really pissed. I was young, you know, and I was in love with her. Like we were living together, from my understanding, and she would go and walk away and fucking make phone calls and shit. Like he started getting a little jealous and paranoid, and he was like, at that point, like, I just blamed you because you were like in the middle. And he was just like, so yeah, he goes, I was taking out all my aggression on you. And then his ex-girlfriend, when Bobby had her, she was just like, I didn't know he beat the shit out of you. And so yeah, they were going into it. It was to a point where Ari was like, I was so pissed at you. There was a point where I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend just to get back at you. And I was just like, wow, okay. That was like out of the blue, and I was just like, huh. Like, if you're ever so pissed at somebody, like your instinct is to like, yeah, I wanna, you know, I'm gonna get back at you by fucking your partner. And I was just like, wow, man, is that like, that's kind of fucked up. It's kind of sociopathic. I almost thought to that point, and he was like serious. He's like, I didn't do it because I didn't think I could pull it off. I didn't think I wouldn't be able to pull it off because I'm not that attractive. And I was just like, oh my God, like he really thought about it, you know?
It's fucked up, but I think it's fucked up. He wouldn't have had that thought had he not gotten the shit kicked out on 3 different occasions. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I cut Bobby Lee some slack, whereas Ari is fucking crazy, bro. He
Yeah.
drugged his own friend, Bert
Yeah.
Kreischer. He drugged
Yeah.
him with ecstasy or Molly,
Molly, yeah, I
MDMA.
saw that was one of the recommended clips when I was on this YouTube binge, and I was like, yeah, he's like 6'3", and like Bobby's like 5'4", and he's like, he goes, yeah, you still outweigh me by like 50 pounds and shit. Like they're having a laugh at it, but I was thinking like, damn, bro, like that's some fucked. I mean, you can kick the guy's ass, I get that, but now you're talking about like I'm gonna sleep. I wanted to sleep with your girlfriend to get back at you. I was like, man, that's some cold-hearted shit. Now that's really getting back at somebody, or that's like some fucking revenge, you know?
I mean, I guess, but like they're not together anymore, so it wouldn't even
No,
be
no,
the
yeah,
same kind of
they
revenge.
all broke up. You know, she moved on, he moved on. Bobby's not with that girl no more, and that's why I said I'm glad they were able to work it out. He said like 5 years later, he just Ari called him like, hey, what's going on, you know, and they started reconnecting, and you know they had like a really good friendship. They would talk about how they helped each other out and all this, and each other to get them like agents and auditions and stuff. And yeah, Ari even mentioned like when I was beating the shit out of you, he's like, you owed me money, like you owe me like 5 G's. And he goes, yeah. Bobby made some comment like, oh yeah, I did owe you money. Yeah, you eventually I paid you back though. He goes, yeah, but at that time I was just like, Bobby thought maybe he's fucking me up too because I owe him money. Because yeah,
Hmm.
Ari told him go into the Mad Studio like Fox lot and go into his computer and hack his email and let me see what she's been sending to him because this is at Hotmail. And he said in those days it wouldn't automatically save what you send to the reply. So he wanted to see what she was sending to him. He was only able to read what the guy was sending to her. And they go, how'd you know? Oh, I just hacked into her computer. He goes, yeah, my intuition paid off, you know. And then I was reading how he was sending her flowers and all this shit, and like I would see the flowers and just get infuriated, you know, get super pissed. And so I mean, it was an interesting story, but the thing where he's like, I was like so pissed, like I wanted to fuck your girlfriend just to get back at you, and I was like, man, that's some like cold ass shit to say, and that's pretty. To me, I was like pretty fucking dark. Like you were that pissed.
Oh, that is nuts.
Yeah, like think about it. It's like even or they were married or whatever. It's just like, yeah, man, I wanted to do that, you know, and but I had to like calm myself down and shit, and like, cause yeah, he has this. He's known for being like fucking crazy, and then like Noel said on one of my YouTube feeds, there was a story how he drugged up Bert Keishner or whatever on Molly, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, yeah, he's like a fucking whacked out dude. He's pretty crazy, you know.
He almost got canceled. The only thing is he's kind of almost immune to it because he just lives like by his own way, you know. He doesn't have to work for a corporation, so he said some stuff when Kobe died. I think it was the same day. Actually, let me pull up the tweet right now, dude. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. Uh,
No,
yeah, it's pretty freaking crazy. I just heard about it the other day, but this happened a while back. He was saying like how he was happy that he died. Yeah, Kobe
absolutely.
Bryant died 23 years too late today. He got away with rape because all the Hollywood liberals who attack comedy enjoy rooting for the Lakers more than they dislike rape. Big ups to the hero who forgot to gas up the chopper. I hate the Lakers. What a great day. Hashtag fuck the Lakers.
Wow,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
it's
he
pretty cold, man.
he has no filter, man. This guy, Joe Rogan, like found him like just on the street one day, and then he became friends with him. And he tried to help him out, and there's like a long story to Ari, man. He because he has money, his family, I guess, is kind of wealthy, so he never really had to give a shit. Never really had like a motivation to do like or ambition, I should say. So yeah, man, he's a weird guy, bro.
Yeah, I mean he fucked up Bobby Lee. I mean, like I said, he's 5'4", and you know, just 3 weeks or 3 times, he just like he choked him out, and like nobody did anything. And then the third time where he Superman punched him, Lee Bobby's like, I ran into the Comedy Store, which you know is a club, and he goes, I was gonna call the police, and they unplugged the telephone, and the the guy who was running it at that time, per Bobby Lee's like, yeah, you don't want to do that. Don't call the police. And he's like, why? He goes, dude, he's booked this weekend and he's gonna be in prison or in jail all weekend. Like, I need him here. And he's just like, oh, okay. And then after that incident, they banned him from at the comedy club for like a month. And then when he would show up, he would stay his distance. But like Bobby Lee mentioned, like if I was having a conversation with a group of people, he'd be like, hey man, like Bobby, like you're a fucking asshole, you're a fucking liar. Like, why don't you are you telling the story when you fucked over me and my relationship? And people are just like looking at him and they're just like, what the fuck is going on? It was just a complete asshole. And I'm glad they're BFFs. They're older and shit, but it was just an interesting fucking story, real life, which I like. And I mean, it was fucked up because Bobby Lee just consistently apparently he was telling everyone about this, and Ari really never said much about it until like now. To this, he did his podcast a couple years back.
Yeah, Ari, he's the kind of guy who doesn't have a lot of remorse either. So he probably like, if anything, he probably feels like just a little bit bad, but like the majority of the time, because when he drugged Bert, he said like, I don't regret it. Like you had fun, right? Like he made it seem like, oh, you had a good time though, right? He's like, motherfucker, like you did it in front of my kids and my family, like.
Yeah, it's like, a dick move, man. To be honest with you.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, like, let us know if you guys to ffnquestions@gmail.com if you would want to sleep with somebody's significant other to get back at them if you're that pissed at them. So, I just found it interesting and like, I've heard people talk about it, but like he was like fucking serious about it. And he like, if you fucked him up, he kicked his ass 3 times, and now you're talking about sleeping with his girlfriend at the time. I was like, ugh, man, he might have, but he showed some self-restraint. I mean, according to the podcast, I don't know if he ever really tried, but the podcast, he made it sound like he had some self-restraint on that,
Yeah, if I was Bobby Lee, I probably would have hired some guys to like fucking like beat the shit out of Ari,
Yeah.
Instead of having to sleep with his girlfriend, that's what I would have done. I'm saying.
But yeah, I mean, let us know, guys, what you guys think about that. But we're gonna get into our article of the week. So this is one of my articles. My paranormal views, which Danny dislikes or doesn't believe in. He likes more real shit. But the CIA unexpectedly releases all of its documents on UFOs, and this article came out about a month ago, and it really didn't get no news. I mean, I saw it from some of my blogs that I read about, and the one who really got the ball rolling on this was John Greenwald Jr., who runs the Black Vault. This website has been around for a long time. I remember seeing John Greenwald on TV shows in the late 90s, and he was a kid back then running this website, the Black Vault, about UFO documents that he would file a lot of FOIA acts, Freedom of Information stuff, to get requests on UFOs. And the article goes into how he was able to purchase a CD-ROM, which I find kind of weird coming from the CIA. The Black Vault purchased a CD-ROM containing both previously released records from the CIA as well as those providing from FOIA requests, said the blog post. And it's like a pretty big fucking dump. And he started going through them, and there's a couple of good things, but they're still really going through it. The big one that I see, I did a little bit of research. They released some memos where it was like literally they're discussing about what to do, where to store certain UFO things that they found, and they're discussing where to store it and how to handle it. And they call on the document they call it UFO. It's not like some weird name. So. I mean, I found that I don't know if you guys were able to look at anything, but yeah, Greenwald, like I said, I know him. He's been investigating UFOs since he was 15. the article claims he has filed over 2 million pages of FOIA requests.
Wow,
It's fucking
that's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, like again, he's been doing it since he's 15, and I remember him seeing him on UFO documentaries in the late 90s. You know, so he's had the website. I think he started the website when he was like 17 or something. So I mean, he says here he finally got some requests that he filed 14 years ago. So to think about that, and he's uploaded a big chunk of it on his website, and that's the only the CIA released a ton of it. No mainstream media coverage at all. There was something on Twitter, but nothing. And I looked at some of the files. This is just like always a lot of internal memos about how to handle certain situations, or they need to discuss stuff that they find.
Yeah, to know his legitimacy, Andy, did he ever show up on Current Affair, the TV show?
As far as I know, no. He's been on some serious documentaries. He's been on big radio shows like Coast to Coast. He's been on Fade to Black. He's been on Sightings. He's been on like NBC News, like document. That's where I remember him from, a documentary that UFO did from NBC. And that's when I first saw him. I'm like, dang, he's a fucking kid running a website. Like, how interesting. Like, when the internet was like new and, all this information. So, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's crazy. Like, to me, this just didn't have no breaking news or anything. It's just, the documents reveal, like, yeah, there's UFOs are real. I mean, even if the government like came out, do we need that validation from the U.S. government or any government saying like, yeah, they're real? Would that make shit better, or would the whole new thing be like, oh, they're fucking lying to us? It's all bullshit. Well, that's the whole thing that I'm going after. You see documents revealing, they deny it, but do we need that validation from the government saying like, yeah, they exist?
Well, if you really think about it, UFOs stand for unidentified. So it could have been a drone or something else. Just them acknowledging that they've captured unidentified objects doesn't really necessarily mean that they're acknowledging that there are aliens, unless it explicitly says, intergalactical aliens found or this and that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one point of it, but there's other documents that I read that they released that they admit they received a message from some other galaxy, and they asked some of their top scientists, and what they found out, it was a math problem that someone sent them. So it might have been a kid doing his long division, but they took it, they figured it out. It was like a math equation. And they don't go into detail if they responded or not, but I'm assuming they did. And so, I mean, there's documents admitting that there was some form of communication from some that they got from another galaxy.
That is kind of intriguing, because they say that math is the universal language, that everybody can understand math. It's the one language that transcends all different barriers, because math is the same, unless you're doing this new math they're teaching in school. But usually math is the same everywhere. And 2 + 2 is 2 + 2 everywhere. So that's kind of weird that they receive that in some kind of communication from space.
Yeah, dude, gets you to wonder. Like, I don't know if you saw, there was what's his name? Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan's podcast recently, and Joe Rogan asked him, was like, "Hey, do you think there's aliens? Like, you think they came down here or anything like that?" And to kind of paraphrase, Elon said, like, it doesn't really matter to him. Like, it would just be new information if he knew aliens existed. He kind of acted like nonchalant, which gets me to believe like he already knows something.
To me, like the new thing with aliens, and it's been a big thing since Joe Rogan had Alex Jones on for like the first or second time, where the one that almost got kind of shadow banned, not this recent one, but the one before that. He started talking about, and there was already something like trending to interdimensional, and that's like the new thing lately in the UFO community. I feel
The
they
fourth and
feel,
fifth dimensions.
yeah, that these are interdimensional beings, and they're coming out that like a lot of these grays and all that. There already was talk about there being like robots or whatever, but that's the new thing that's trending now, the interdimensional stuff. And that, so like this stuff with the UFO you see in space or like up in the skies, it's kind of like almost like Danny said, like antiquated, like with the UFO, because in the alphabet, government agencies, they don't even use UFO, they use other things now, like UAP or something, unidentified aerial projectile. Like they use different lettering now. That's starting to come out a little bit, because UFO is like, they know people search for those keywords when they ask for Freedom of Information Act, so they changed it. Like I think in like the 80s, 90s, and that stuff started trickling out like in the last 15, 20 years, about how they started naming it, giving it different names, acronyms in the documentation.
Yeah, it's weird. Would you ever consider filing a Freedom of Information Act paperwork for anything?
I don't know, man. I've read that it's easy. I think you pay a fee, but like I don't want to get on some fucking list. Like, why is this motherfucker asking for stuff?
Yeah, I think it was your sister that had tagged me on something where some guy was asking for information at the North Lake City Hall, and
Yeah.
he kept saying that word too, FOIA. Can I get a FOIA document? Can I get this? Can I get that? Or no, the lady was saying that to him,
Yeah.
where he was asking for information, and he's just like, yeah, just fill out the FOIA document, and we'll be happy to give it to you. And everything he would ask, just fill out the Freedom of Information Act. And it was weird how I had never seen that in a real world context, where somebody's asking for information and you need to fill that document out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like like I said, going back to that, the FOIA request. I mean, and it takes years sometimes for them to get back, or they say we can't give you anything; it's classified, or they send you something and like everything's blacked out and it's like one letter, like the, or like Mister, or like typewriter. It's like, what the fuck is this? And like, what, this whole context? The only thing that's not classified is like the, like, and like, because they have to, apparently it's a process. They go to a judge and like, oh, this is, Your Honor, this is all classified and this is what and it's like a blank page with like 2 letters and shit. And I've seen some of those documentaries, and so yeah, and like I said, do you need, or anybody out there needs validation if the government says that they exist? Like going like what Noel said with Elon Musk, like, yeah, fuck, like he already know. I mean, he's fucking sending rockets into space, like
Yeah, in 2 years, he says it's going to be a regular thing, sending like even like ships out there, like people like being in space.
But like Andy hinted to, do you think Elon Musk is privy to information about UFOs since he's involved so deeply with SpaceX?
Yeah, I mean, he has to know because he works. I think he does business with the government, doesn't he? Didn't he put, or is it the Jeff Bezos? One of those two. They were putting like satellites in space for the government, so they had to have some. You have to get, when you work for, you get those government bids or whatever. You have to get some type of clearance. I mean, they give you a security clearance to get some classified information.
Whoa. So you're telling me governments own space? I mean, you can't just go, like, if I build a rocket, I can't just fly off into there. I gotta get somebody's permission.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that if you build a rocket in your backyard, the government's gonna come and see, like, what the fuck are you doing?
Wow.
Yeah, there's like restrictions, I think, on what you can actually build. And to actually build a rocket, you would need a lot of equipment that wouldn't be like accessible to the public, like fuels and like fucking, like just some intricate materials that you probably wouldn't get easily.
Yeah, I would assume all that it would be difficult to build one, period. But let's say I have all the resources for building one. I have one in my backyard. It's ready to launch. Do I gotta fill out a bill of ladings or some kind of like permission slip from the government that hey, I'm gonna enter airspace and go off into space kind of thing?
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
gonna let you shoot that, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
They don't let people wear fucking mask. You have to wear a mask and they give you shit. I mean, you think they're gonna let you build a fucking spaceship in your backyard? They'll come and shut your shit down, and they'll confiscate shit. As soon as they say it's like a national, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now. Like it's a
National threat.
national threat or security threat. They're gonna just come and fucking raid everything and they'll throw you in a hole and say like, yeah, you can't fucking sign this paper saying you're a fuck up, and then we'll let you go. They've done that numerous times to many different people, a lot of scientists. So and people are like, they're just fucking whacks, and like, but
Like,
if it happens more than once, then yeah, there's some fucking validity to what people are saying, because not all these fucking scientists are quacks, you know. Maybe some are, but when
like
I
if
feel like when something good comes out and they come and fucking raid your office, and then you say, this guy had fucking porn on his computer, get him. Yeah, like, oh, okay.
yeah, like Tesla, when he died, they confiscated all his stuff, no questions asked. They took all his information, all his inventions, and they just made it classified. And just think about how much like work it is to own a gun or to own a car. You need registration, insurance, blah blah blah. What are you gonna do with a rocket? You know, like it's not gonna be like, I'm just gonna have it. You can't even just have a gun. Like, you need to have it registered. You need to have a FOID card. So I'm pretty sure it's not gonna ever be where you could just build something like that. Although it would be pretty cool, like some explorers, you know.
Right, right. Yeah. Not to go off into a tangent, but actually it's funny you mentioned what you did. A few days ago, I thought about what happened to that guy that they had confiscated all his tech, the one that had discovered a way to turn water into like gasoline to power cars or something like that. He was able to convert water into something so that you can power your cars. I forget if that was
Yeah,
something you had brought up, Noel, but
I could have sworn because you put like electrodes in there and it
right.
makes it turn into hydrogen gas, and that gas is what fuels the car.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I thought about it a few days ago, and I'm just like, I wonder what happened to that guy. Is he still like in jail, or did they confiscate his stuff? Is he still moving forward with his technology?
So I mean, you think about that, Dan, and like that guy, I kind of know that guy you're talking about. That was like late '80s, early '90s,
Right. It was a
right? I
while ago.
saw I saw some like YouTube shit before they started saying putting WikiLeaks and suppressing shit, you know, big tech. But I seen that documentary and or whatever, and last I heard they came and snatched him up, and they said he had fucking something was wrong with him. He's a crazy old man, or he was selling bullshit. Even though you saw the video, he's like fucking taking a leak into something or throwing water on some pickup truck, the one that I remember, and never heard from him again. And Bob Lazar too. I mean, the guy that worked at Area 51. They had a documentary. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was working on some free energy shit, and he talked about how they fucking came and raided his house. They took all his shit, and they said that what he was working on was like fucking dangerous and like it wasn't really safe for the public, and they classified some shit, and he can't really talk about it. I remember reading some shit on that too. I don't know if they spoke about that on Joe Rogan. I remember hearing that on Coast to Coast a long time ago, when after the shit from Area 51 died down, he went to work on some shit by himself, and then he goes, yeah, they came and raided me, saying that it was like a national security threat and this shit was dangerous to the average person. So they took all his shit, all his drawings, his computers and shit, and said, this is all classified now, this is dangerous. And like, he's just like, I gotta stay out of this fucking limelight, and like he disappeared for a while, and then they did that documentary on Netflix about him. So I mean, like I said, there is a track record of stuff like the government coming raiding your shit and saying this is dangerous, or I don't know if they buy you out. I've also read that they bought out people for certain technologies. I don't know how true that is. I haven't really seen. I've seen like two things on that once, like $5-10 million payouts for some technologies, but you couldn't talk about it because When they try to patent something, that's when they come and get you.
Wow. I wonder how much this hampers people from talking about stuff like that. You know, like I saw an alien, I videotaped him. He sat right here next to me and we talked about stuff, and then coming out and giving that evidence, or are you going to be labeled as some kind of quack now?
I think back in the day, it kind of made sense. I mean, because, America was more closed-minded. We just came out of a fucking World War II. We were a superpower. Like, we could do whatever the fuck we want. And then, you hear about fucking shit flying around, people landing, and you're just like, well, what the fuck? I thought we were a superpower. And then shit would trickle out, like, the people. I talked to this motherfucker from Jupiter, man. They're badasses. And people are like, yeah, this guy's a fucking quack. And 9 out of 10 times it was out in the West Coast. That's the thing. It was like a lot of Californian people, and the country always thought California was kind of weird to begin with, like very open. And then like you look at the timeline, then it turned into they started abducting people. Oh, these motherfuckers are evil. I got anally probed, like what the fuck? And the government really just made no effort. And there's stories that they leaked some of this shit out to make these people crazy, or they had agents infiltrating these groups and all that shit. And the only time you see big press is when something negative comes out, like the Halley's Comet people. Oh, these people thought there was a fucking alien in that comet. They killed themselves. Oh shit, these people are whack jobs. And that's the story. I mean, that's the narrative that they push. So imagine you're flying a 747 and you're like, oh shit, I saw a fucking ship to the left of me. And the guy's like, hey, bro, don't fucking say nothing, man, because I need this job. I don't want us to get fucking ridiculed. And they're going to drug test us. They're going to say we're drunk or something's wrong with us. Like, don't fuck it up. Just ignore it. And I'm pretty much, I think that's what's going on, even to this day. And but the last couple of years, you see that the government, which through certain agencies that they released videos, but even the videos they're clear, but you don't get no definition of the ship that they're following. The TikTok video and all that shit, or the TikTok video, and it's still like, I don't know what I'm seeing here. I just see this infrared shit,
Yeah, dude. One thing I was thinking about recently is it kind of made more sense as to why the government, or the U.S. government, like tries to classify so many things and tries to take away these innovations from people. And it kind of got me thinking about it when Trump wanted to ban TikTok. And I don't know if it's banned now or if it's gonna be or whatever, but
they made changes to it, yeah.
Because just the vulnerability of giving your information to China, like that's a big thing going on right now. Like they really don't want China to be the next superpower, and it's seeming a lot like that might happen. And so I think that's what they're trying to do, is like they're trying to limit the amount of information that China can get from American citizens, either unknowingly or knowingly.
Dude,
yeah,
they got spies here that are fucking congressmen. No matter how, like that guy in California, he was fucking a Chinese communist spy. That motherfucker still holds office. Like, who knows? He was low level, but just think about that. Like, and it came out, and I don't want to get all political, but he was banging a fucking Chinese spy. It got out. That guy's still in office, and like, you haven't heard anything. I don't know if they gave him a debriefing. Like, what'd you give up? What did she have access to? Like, what were you guys doing? He's still fucking out there, and no one's talking about it. It's just like this like inside thing on Twitter.
He probably has some shit on everybody else. So he's like, oh, you're going to let me go? All right. Then I'll tell everybody all your shit, all your secrets.
And
that's how a lot of people stay in office, man. There's a lot of blackmailing going on everywhere.
And there's reports that the Chinese have sent spies to infiltrate local counties and shit like that to see like their, like just to get information on like data on like people, populations, and like inside shit, or where there's like government facilities, and they were banging like county commissioners and all this shit, and just fucking getting into their computers to see what kind of shit they could pull out of them. Like low lying fruit. Let's pick at this. Let's see what that opens up, and we'll work our way on up. And that's starting to. I mean, it's been kind of talked about, but the mainstream media is not even really. They're just like, oh yeah, he was banging a spy. What an idiot! Ha ha ha! But like, what the fuck's going on? Like, this is a real threat.
Right, but I wonder how much of it is just unknown. I mean, my wife, well, I'm saying the guy to the girl. I mean, my wife is my wife, but she could be a spy, and I don't know about it. Did he complicitly know that his girlfriend was a Chinese spy?
I saw a show about this recently. What fucking show was I watching? Where the guy was like, the event. I was watching it. The head of the CIA, his wife, when he was coming up, his dad, who ran the CIA, found out she was a Russian spy, and the dad had to kill him. And he's like, "We can't tell no one because this will ruin your fucking career." That the deputy fucking guy of the CIA is banging a Russian spy, and his wife was a Russian spy, and like he refused to believe it. His dad shot her, and he's like, "You're a fucking idiot. I'll clean this up for you. Don't tell no one." And like, cause your career is gonna get fucking ruined.
Damn, dude.
And like, to me, that imagine how much of that shit really goes on. Like you said, then it's unknown, but the government, they know, especially now with everything, they get into everything now. So everything's an open book.
Yeah, it's a crazy day, man. It's who knows how deep that fucking rabbit hole goes, but I have a feeling there's a lot of shit that we're not being told that I'm kind of worried about these next 4 years, man. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm worried about I'm just worried about, I'm like I said, going back to my narrative on the article, I feel like maybe at one time I felt like I needed some validation from the government, but the way things are now, especially like since like the second Bush, since 9/11, like everything just went from bad to worse, especially when the government's involved. And there's such a culture of like, let's not say anything, and when we say something, let's just keep it a certain way and just be done with it. And then now with big tech, the way shit is, we all saw with the last election, everything is super fucking controlled. There's this facade of like everything's open, but there's only like, the fact checkers and all this bullshit with when the fact checkers are wrong. It's just like, who do you trust? And we had many discussions on the show about that. It's just the life and times we live right now, and you just got to learn to navigate through it. But we can fact check Dan. He's always wrong. Noel sometimes. I'm pretty 100% on time all the time. So. But we want to thank y'all for listening. Remember, follow Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. So also send your questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. There, send us your fact checks. If you use Snopes, we're automatically going to disqualify you because Snopes has been known to have been wrong. Also, visit our webpage at freeformnetwork.podbean.com. There you see our links to Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, Spreaker, YouTube. If I'm missing some, I apologize. Danny just keeps throwing platforms up there. You can subscribe and hit the like buttons on whatever you listen to. We would appreciate that. Leave a comment, share it. That would be awesome. So Freeform Radio, we got Danny.
Yes, sir. I'm getting hungry. I got an Italian beef in the fridge, so I'm ready to go eat.
Damn. Noel?
Just trying to stay warm in this cold day. Everybody take care.
Lay off that vitamin A, man. I didn't know you get sores from that.
Be careful, everybody.
So it's all good, Andy. Thank you for listening. Remember, guys, check us out next time and hit us up.
That was cool, Dad.